This episode is sponsored by the Global Center for Religious Research, the world's leading academic institute and publisher in atheism and religious trauma. In the Christian tradition, he is the embodiment of pure evil, but tracing his mythic and literary roots, history tells a much more complicated story. Before being promoted to the Prince of Darkness, Satan was actually among the sons of God. As discussed in a previous video, the Israelites were originally polytheists, believing in a pantheon of gods descended from ancient Canaan. Their chief god El had 70 sons in his divine assembly, Satan being among them. Early in the book of Job, we are told, one day the B'nai Elohim, or sons of God, came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. Originally, Satan was God's heavenly prosecutor, who stood at the right hand of the Almighty. Then he showed me Joshua, the high priest, standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right side to accuse him. The title Satan, sometimes used generically in the Hebrew Bible, denotes accuser or adversary, but Satan was originally an adversary of man, not of God. As God's prosecutor among those in the divine council, he roams the earth, sniffing out whether such servants as Job are truly faithful to the Almighty, and meting out tests or punishments as God sees fit. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne with all the multitudes of heaven standing around him on his right and on his left. And the Lord said, "Who will entice Ahab into attacking Ramoth Gilead and going to his death there?" One suggested this and another that. Finally, a spirit came forward, stood before the Lord, and said, "I will entice him." "By what means?" the Lord asked. "I will go and be a deceiving spirit in the mouths of all his prophets," he said. "You will succeed in enticing him," said the Lord. "Go and do it." Only after the post-exilic period, when Jews were freed from Babylon by their Persian liberators, did Satan become identified with the Persian Ahriman of Zoroastrianism, to become the adversary of both God and man. In the Zoroastrian religion, Ahriman was the evil lord of darkness who opposed the wise lord of light, Ahura Mazda. In texts known as the Younger Avesta, Ahriman is said to tempt the prophet Zoroaster by promising him sovereignty over the whole world, strikingly reminiscent of Satan's temptation of Christ in the desert. Ahriman was also the creator of vermin, thus Luke 10:18 depicts Satan using snakes and scorpions, a telltale sign of Zoroastrian influence. In the end, of course, Ahura Mazda will prevail, and Ahriman will be vanquished, just like Satan in Revelation 20:10. "In that thy kingdom, O Ahura Mazda, his end in every way will come. At the resurrection, Ahriman will be destroyed, and thereafter all will be good, and it will proceed through the will of God." The story of Satan's fall from heaven stems from Isaiah 14, which in its original context concerns the fall of the king of Babylon, specifically God's justice against the Babylonian ruler for having taken Israel into captivity. As Isaiah declares, "You will take up this taunt against the king of Babylon, how the oppressor has come to an end, how his fury has ended. The Lord has broken the rod of the wicked, the scepter of the rulers, which in anger struck down peoples with unceasing blows, and in fury subdued nations with relentless aggression. How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn! You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the Mount of Assembly, on the utmost heights of Mount Zaphon. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you are brought down to the realm of the dead, to the depths of the pit. The passage itself is inspired by the astrological myth of the rise and fall of Hallel, or Venus, which rises as the bright morning star only to be cast out of sight by the power and glory of the rising sun, the mythic basis for Lucifer's, that is, the light-bearer's, unsuccessful attempt to usurp the throne of God Most High, who prevails in the end. The Bible never gives an actual account of Satan's fall from heaven. That story comes much later in an apocryphal work known as the Life of Adam and Eve. Satan's appearance, with hooves, horns, and a pointy tail, is derived from the Greek god Pan, a goat-like deity of fertility and the wilderness, and his trident comes from none other than the Greek Poseidon, the great god of the sea. Like both the biblical God and the Christ of faith, Satan is a composite figure, woven together by a long, winding, and rich history of religious tradition. Satan is not a real entity who exists in our world, but a literary creation, an evolutionary development. We cannot tackle our real human problems by casting blame on such a mythical figure, any more than we can appeal to a mythical god to save us. We must look inward to deal with our own evils, and to seek out the better angels of our own nature. The Global Center for Religious Research is pulling back the curtain and exposing the harm caused by religious institutions. With a certificate in the philosophy of religion, you'll attend an online lecture series that questions God's existence through reason and argumentation. With a certificate in religious trauma studies, you'll discover the truth from specialists, psychiatrists, and researchers all over the world about how religious doctrine can lead to trauma responses in the body. And right now, Atheologica viewers will get $50 off any certification course just by clicking the link in the description or by going to gcrr.org/courses. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on future content. You can also support me on Patreon, where you'll get access to past presentations and an exclusive ebook, including invaluable references and sources. Any help you can provide, no matter how great or small, will go a long way toward keeping this channel going. Big thanks, by the way, to my current patrons. Your encouragement and support mean the world to me.